Good boy. Hello, welcome to episode 22 of Little Bobbins Knits. My name is Dani and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Little Bobbins. We have a Ravelry group which you can find by searching Little Bobbins Knits, and show notes for the podcast can be found at littlebobbins.co.uk, and I'll have links to everything I talk about in the episode and the Ravelry group and where else you can find me on the internet. So thank you so much for being here today. I'm really happy to be sat talking to you. So I had a bit of a non-week last week. A migraine knocked me out for about 3 days, and it's really messed with my concept of time because it feels like forever ago that I did this, I last did a podcast. So yeah, it feels very strange, and my hair is doing crazy things today, so just try and ignore it and I will too. So today I've got some works in progress, some finished objects, some spinning, some lovely things, and I've had a few questions in the forum about Bobbin, so I'll tell you about him at the end. Very happy that you've asked, so excited to talk about him. I just wanted to say thank you for being here today. I really appreciate you coming back if you've watched the podcast before, and if you're new to the podcast, I hope you enjoy watching and I hope you come back too. So I did also want to mention the cup cozy swap. I've posted all of the names of the partners in the Ravelry thread under the Cup Cozy Swap Partners thread. And if you should be on the list and are not, please get in touch because you will have been paired. I just might not have written your name down by accident. And if you think you should be in the thread but you're not there, but someone with a name very similar is there, that's probably you and I probably spelt it wrong. So do get in touch and I'll correct that. But thank you so much to everyone who signed up for that. I'm so excited to see everyone's cup cozies making their way across the world to each other. I'm not going to be taking part making a cup cozy because there was an odd number with me involved, so I'll just be a backup for if anyone can't take part for any reason, and then I'll partner up with the person who doesn't have a partner anymore. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you all send to each other. It's really exciting. And I just wanted to say another big thank you to Seashore Sharon for helping me pair up the names and being there to answer questions if people have got in touch. If you do have any questions, do get in touch with me about it, but it should be a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that all happen. I've put the date to send out the packages as the 10th of April. It was going to be the last day of March, but time just felt like it was getting away, so I've put the deadline back a bit. So I hope that's helpful to everyone. But yeah, very excited. So I'm just going to have a little sip of my tea. Hopefully it's cool enough now. I'm having a lovely cup of coconut chai, which I just got this morning in a lovely package that I will show you in a bit. Oh, it's just delicious. I love coconut flavours. Yeah, so this is really lovely. It's with that lovely spicy coconut with the, no, spicy chai with the hint of coconut. It's really lovely. Delicious. So, works in progress. Bobbin's over there on guard again today. And he's got a bone, which he needs to protect from everyone as well, because everyone wants his bone. I'll show you it. I don't think anyone's going to want to steal that, are they? He's been carting this around for about 3 days, hiding it in various places, and he's not in the best of moods. Temperamental little thing he is, because we're dog sitting again, So the other dog's downstairs, and yeah, he's not thrilled about that, but he doesn't have to put up with much, does he? So my first work in progress are my rainbow socks. These are the Atlantic Current socks pattern by Melissa Sibley, and the pattern was very kindly given to me by Yarnderwoman, Melinda of the Yarnderwoman podcast. And I'm still thoroughly enjoying these. I just love how the yarn's working up in this pattern. It's so pretty. And unfortunately you can't see it, but the yarn has lovely sparkles going through it. The main yarn is Rainbows and Clouds. There's someone walking past the house, so we might have a barking session in a minute. Bobbin, it's okay. It's alright, they're allowed. It's the Rainbows and Clouds colourway by Felt Fusion on Etsy. And I'm really enjoying working with this yarn. It's lovely. It's got a nice bounce to it and it's soft. Feels like it'll be hard wearing as well though. Nice and tightly plied. I've used a different yarn for my heel. I used a little mini skein that I had from the Knitting Goddess. I thought the orange colour went really well. And I've done a heel flap and a slip stitch heel because I thought it worked well with the slip stitches of the main pattern. And I did a square heel turn because that's one that I find really comfortable, and it's so easy to do. You don't have to do very much counting at all. And it's a lovely little sort of strap along the bottom. I really love that heel. I'm using my 2.25mm higher sharps, and it's just a really enjoyable knit. I've got my little progress keeper from a homespun house, a little cupcake, so cute. And the other one is a little bit shorter, I think. These are for my mum. I just love them. I've got a little popcorn charm on here that's got sparkles in it, which is really fun. So yeah, really enjoying these. And I love how the orange heel really stands out. So yes, they are a lot of fun. I had to retrieve him. There were people having a conversation about just outside the house, and he's not impressed at all. Are you? Because you're grumpy. My second work in progress is my water lily. In my fat squirrel bag that now has a little moomin appendage. I love the moomins. Having to keep hold of him because he's just going to run and shout at them if I let go. So the water lily is by Megan Fernandez, and I'm knitting it in this baby alpaca silk. This is a lovely sage green colour that likes to pretend it's blue on camera. It's colour 7402. And I have now got to the lace bit. So I've separated now for the front and back and have just started on the lace. About halfway through the first repeat, I think. I've done the Latvian braid, which was fine to do. It would have been more fine if I just believed instructions, because the instructions are really clear in the pattern. Yeah, they are in the pattern. But when I was going along starting the Latvian braid, it just didn't look like I thought it would look. There was nothing happening on the front of the garment. it all seemed to be plaiting itself on the back. So I ripped it out, made sure I was doing the right thing and started again, and then I looked at some other instructions, but they told me to do the opposite. But I think that was because they were starting on the right side, whereas you start the Latvian braid on the wrong side. So I just thought I would do it as the pattern says, and it came out right, of course. So yeah, if only I would just trust the pattern and not overthink things, I would probably be a little bit further ahead, but never mind. So yeah, the Latvian braid was absolutely fine, and it does give a really nice ridge on the front of your work, which I really liked. And the lace pattern is nice and simple to follow so far. Now I've said that, I need to put in a lifeline because everything will go wrong, because that's what happens. But yeah, it's going along well. There are some stitches added for the sleeves, and the back is just on a piece of waste yarn. It doesn't look huge. Anyway, it'll be fine. I'm knitting this on my 3.75 higher fixed circulars. The pattern was written for 4mm, I think, but I preferred the fabric I was getting on the 3.75, and I think it will be nearer to the gauge. I didn't do a proper gauge swatch, but I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. Thistledown asked in the "What do you want to see on the podcast" thread about how I'm joining my yarns for this, and I am spit splicing my yarns for this so that I have less ends to weave in. And although it's not, I'm not sure that the yarn is keen on that really, because it does look a bit untidy, I think, when you've just done it, but then when it's knitted into the fabric, I don't think you can notice it. It seems like a strong hold. And yeah, I can't see where I've joined yarn, so I'm hoping that will be okay. I really like spit splicing if there's enough wool content in the yarn, because it's just invisible. It doesn't add any extra bulk, and it means you have so many less ends to weave in, which I just love. So if you haven't done spit splicing before, I'll put a link to a tutorial in the show notes, because it's just a great method of joining in yarn, I think. Yeah. So that's my water lily. Last week I said that I wanted to do a little bit on my susu every day. I didn't pick it up. Never mind. So, finished objects. Last week I was telling you about how I was feeling overwhelmed with all of my projects. Feeling like I just had too many on the needles and nothing was getting very far, and so I thought I'd cast on something new. Because why wouldn't you? I don't know. But I cast on a Ricky hat. Patterns by Sarah Young, and it's a free pattern, and it's just a garter stitch hat. You knit the brim on smaller needles and then the main body of the hat on larger needles. And I've wanted to knit this hat for ages, and then Caffeinated Gert from the Caffeinated Knitting podcast started up a hashtag, and lots of people started knitting them on Instagram. So I was seeing all of these Rickies being made, and I'd said that I really wanted to knit one and just hadn't cast it on yet. So that gave me the motivation to just get it on the needles, and I'm so glad I did, because it was such a quick knit and it is such a squishy hat. It's lovely. I've knit it in Malabrigo Rios in the Lotus colourway, and I had 10 grams left, and it's a lovely yarn to use. I used 3.75mm needles for the brim because that's all I had in a 16-inch circular. Well, that's the smallest, or the closest to an appropriate size needle for the brim. Excuse me, I just have to have a drink. And then I used a 4.5mm needle for the main body of the hat. I knit it exactly as the pattern said, where you knit in the rounding garter stitch, so you knit one row and purl one row, and it does mean that there's this seam down the back, but I think that's perfectly neat. I don't mind that at all, and I don't mind purling, so that was fine. I'll put it on and we'll see what happens to my hair afterwards. It's bound to be hilarious. I only knit it to 8.5 inches instead of 9, which is what the pattern says. But yeah, probably not going to be able to show you very well, but it's got a nice amount of slouch on the back. And it fits nice and snug around your head. The pattern's actually written for DK weight yarn, and Rios is a worsted weight. So I followed some other people's alterations, and I just cast on 96 stitches, and that's given an absolutely perfect size. I haven't blocked it because I didn't really, because it's superwash and I didn't really want it to stretch, and it's neat enough, I think. So I didn't bother. But yeah, I really like it, and I'm really pleased I finally knit it because it's such a lovely hat. I've been saving this skein of yarn because I knew it wanted to be a Ricky, so yes, very happy. Yeah, I only had 10 grams left, so I was pleased I didn't do that extra ½ inch because I don't know if that would have made a difference. I also followed someone else's alterations for the 96 stitch one, where I put or I don't know if I did actually, because I sort of read it and then I went off somewhere else in my head or did something else, and then I thought, oh, what did that say, and did what I thought it said, but it might not have said that, if that made sense. So for the decreases, I put a marker every 12 stitches and knit 2 together before the marker on every other row. That might have been what the person said on Ravelry, but I can't quite remember. But that worked out fine. So yeah, that's all done. And isn't it nice to finish things? I do love finishing things. I am thinking I might like to sort of pare down my whips a little bit, because you do make so much more progress when you're working on things a bit more monogamously, and it's such a lovely feeling to finish things, so I may do that. So on to spinning. Well, I got my sparkly fibre in the post this week. I couldn't wait to start spinning it. So this is what I've got left. I've split it into 3 because I'm going to do another 3-ply for socks. Oh, and it's gorgeous. It's superwash BFL and nylon sparkle. 70% BFL, Blueface Leicester, and 30% nylon. And it's really, really sparkly. And these are all the colours. So there's a nice sort of dusky pink, gold, blue going into purple, into pink, into gold. This lovely bright green. That's a lot brighter than it looks on my screen. And then a bright yellow. So, yeah. I was too excited to wait to show you the braid. It's from Felt Studio UK, which is actually based in Germany. And I've spun one of the plies, and it was very interesting fibre to spin. If you like spinning woolly wool, this would not be for you. It doesn't feel woolly at all. It's, yeah, the nylon changes the fibre so much. It feels much more nylon-y than it does woolly, even though it's a much higher percentage of wool. It's also extremely slippery. So it was fine to spin, but it was very different to the superwash merino that I spun last week. Was it last week? I think so. Because that had a bit of grab to it still, and it felt woolly than this. But yeah, this BFL is slightly, it's got a shine to it. It's a slightly longer wool than merino. But yeah, it's slippery. And it feels like a really small amount. It is 100 grams. But it just looks and feels like a tiny amount of yarn. I'll show you the braid of the other one that I got in Lovely Things. But yeah, it's definitely an experience. Not one that I'm not enjoying, because it's interesting, but I don't know that I wouldn't recommend this to a beginner because of its slipperiness. And I wouldn't recommend this to a woolly wool lover because it's not woolly. But if you like sparkle, then I definitely would recommend it because it's full of sparkle, and it's such a shame you won't be able to see it. Yeah. So I'll get working on the other two plies, and I have some more hand spun yarn for socks, which I'm so excited about. So we might as well go into Lovely Things now. This is the other braid that I got from Felt Studio UK. I really love this one too. There's purples and real lovely deep inky blues and black, greys, and then some white, and the light colours in between. So I'm excited about that. And it's the same blend of 70% superwash Blueface Leicester and 30% nylon sparkle. But yeah, it feels like a really small, it's not like it's compacted or anything, it just feels like quite a small braid. But it is 100 grams, so yeah. These are an experience. Yeah, I'd definitely say that. But I think they're going to make really fun socks. I think my yardage might be quite low, so I imagine I'll have to definitely use a contrasting toe and heel. But we'll see. And with the order from Felt Studio UK, I got a little sample of Gotland and Merino Silk and Angelina Sparkle. So that's a lovely little sample. It will be lovely to spin on one of my spindles, so I'll pop that in my bowl with the fuzzlings and enjoy spinning that up. Another lovely thing, Mum and I popped out and went to a little village nearby, and we went into a sort of slightly random yarn, fabric and carpets shop, and I picked up one of these. This is Serdar Heart and Soul. I just like when I go to little yarn shops to just pick up something, because I don't know, I just feel like it sort of lets them know that people are still wanting that, still wanting somewhere they can see yarn and instead of it all being online. But yeah, I really like the colours of that. And this knits up as a self-striping sock yarn. And it's 75% wool, 25% nylon. It just feels like a regular sort of hard-wearing sock yarn. So that would be fun to knit. I just thought those colours were so pretty. I think the colourway is Hello Cheeky, but it reminds me of ice cream. And yeah, nice faded pretty colours that I like. So that would be fun. And then I received this lovely package in the post. This is from Anya, who is Leseshushtig on Ravelry and Instagram. And I'm sorry if I've said that wrong. She sent me a lovely surprise package, which was just wonderful. She sent me a skein of yarn. I'll just open it. This is Regia Highland Tweed, and it's 150 grams. Oh, so I think it might be a sport weight. But it looks like it's got the really long colour repeats that I like. So that would be really fun to knit. And I love these pinks and browns and beiges. So that's really pretty and really exciting. So I'm looking forward to knitting with that. Just surrounding myself. She also sent me some of the coconut chai tea, which I'm drinking at the moment. Actually, I'll have another sip because I don't want it to go cold. It's lovely. She also sent me a nail varnish. Be My Violetine. In a lovely purple colour, which I love. I think I'm going to put this on my nails this week, definitely. A really cute card. And some fun minis. And I think that you dyed this one, didn't you, Anya? I know you've been playing with some dyeing. But yeah, I was checking if it smelled of vinegar, because when I dye, I use vinegar, but it doesn't actually. I realised how bizarre that might look, me smelling my yarn. But yeah, she sent me these lovely minis, which I'm really excited about. So thank you so much, Anya. That is just... Oh, and she sent me these, which I've already had to try. Lovely chocolates that are from her hometown. Which is so fun and just so exciting to get something from where you live. And they're really delicious. And is this woman telling me to put them in my coffee? Because if she is, I'm going to have to try that. Do let me know. But yeah, they're really, really yummy. So thank you so much, Anya. It's so lovely of you. So exciting. I also got gifted a lovely pattern by a friend of the podcast, and I don't know if she wants me to say her name, so I won't. But you know who you are, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. She gifted me Mario the Artistic Rabbit by Jenna Krupa. And I love this pattern. I've wanted to knit this pattern for ages now. I've seen the really cute ones that Laura from the Corner of Knit and Tea has been knitting in her handspun, and they just look so fantastic. I really, really wanted to knit one. And you can't buy any of Jenna Krupa's patterns in the EU now because of this farcical EU thing, that's EU VAT thing that's come into effect. That it's just such a pain, isn't it, for those of us who live in the EU. It's meant that lots of patterns are unavailable, and that makes me sad. And this is one of them. So I was thrilled to be gifted this because I can't get it. So thank you so much. I can't wait to knit this. I think I'm going to knit it in hand spun too, which is really exciting. I was having a think about this EU VAT nonsense and wondered if you wanted to have a thread in the group where you could sort of have people in the EU could ask for a pattern and then someone outside the EU could gift it to them and then get their PayPal, get sent the money for the pattern on PayPal. I don't know what you think about that, because I know that there are patterns like the Fish Lips Kiss Heel, which is now unavailable in the EU. And yeah, lots of patterns. The Atlantic Current socks, they're unavailable in the EU now. So I don't know what you think. Some sort of like pattern matchmaking thread on the board, whether you think that's a good idea or not. Do let me know, because it's really infuriating when you searching through patterns, you find one that you really want to knit and then you find you can't actually buy it in the EU anymore. So yeah, let me know. But yeah, very excited to knit Mario. He's so cute. And I also was lucky enough to win a prize in the Tilly Trout Knits Cup, no, not Cup Cozy, Cozy Along. So I'm sure you saw that Tilly Trout had a Cozy Along in her group, and people's tea cozies and coffee cozies and cup cozies, they were just so fun. They were so imaginative and exciting, and it was just a really lovely thread to look through. It made you smile when you look at that thread. So I was thrilled to have won a pattern for the tea cozy that I included, my Hexipuff tea cozy. And it was a pattern of my choice, so I chose Newsome by Bristol Ivy. And ever since I first saw this pattern, I was just really taken by it. It's really interesting. I do like interesting construction, and this pattern, you start here at the centre back, and then it's made, it says it's a lightweight mitered cardigan with clean lines and gentle textures. So yeah, I just thought that was really fascinating, how that was constructed. And then I'll see if I can show you a picture of the front. And it's a mix of garter stitch and stocking stitch, which I like. Different textures, that's really make for a really interesting garment. So I'm very excited to cast that on as well. So thank you so much for hosting that knit along, Tilly, and I'm so thrilled to have won a prize. I was thinking of knitting that cardigan in some Rowan felted tweed. I don't know if you remember, but I should have brought it up here actually. I bought some Rowan felted tweed in the clay colourway to knit an Into Trees hat, and I started it and I knit probably about this much, and then I realised that about this much was knit on the wrong size needles, so it was on pause and I haven't picked it back up again. I took the needle out and was going to rip back, but I hadn't, so as that hadn't had any more movement, I thought that might be quite lovely yarn for this cardigan, because it's the tweedy sort of yarn, so the little flecks will look really interesting going in different directions, and I think the yarn will show up differently in garter and stocking stitch, so I think that might be a really nice yarn for that. So I've ordered enough balls to make up the number for that cardigan, and I'm really excited to start that. I'm sort of really stuck in a limbo place of, I really want to finish some projects because I'm feeling like I've got too much going on, but then I really want to cast on new things because both of these I'm desperate to cast on. the trials of being a knitter. So, they're all my lovely things, and thank you so much. People are just so kind, and I appreciate it so much. So, in the what do you want to see on the podcast thread, which I love, it really is so helpful to me to hear about what you'd like to see on the podcast. And yeah, I'll answer everything that's in there. But today, I'd noticed that lots of people had asked about Bobbin, so I thought I'd tell you a little bit about Bobbin. Bobbin, do you think you should come and sort of be involved in this? What do you think? Come over here. He's got his teeth out again, which I just think is precious. Come here. Come here. Oh. Oh. He's been sleeping, as he does, always. You're so lazy, aren't you? Oh, so lovely. I think he needs to be involved in this, don't you? If we're talking about him, he should be here. I don't think he agrees. So Molly Munch and Ine asked, oh, and Little Homebird, all asked how I got Bobbin, where I got him, and whether I had him from a puppy or rescue. And I did have him from a puppy. Mum and I went to pick him up from Lymington, which is about an hour or so away. I got in touch with the breeder. I wanted a boy because I just think boy dogs are cuddlier. They're my favourite. And she had one boy left from a litter, and he'd just not been sold. So he was 11 weeks old, I think. All of his little litter mates had gone off to their new homes, and he'd been left behind. So I think he was waiting for me. And we went and picked him up. Mum and I went. And it was just so exciting. He was so tiny and so cute. And all the way back, I know he should be in a crate or something, but he wasn't. The whole of the way back, I was holding him like this and he was sleeping. He was very relaxed. And I think that helped us bond, because when we had to stop at the services because I had to go to the bathroom, and I left Bobbin in the car with Mum, and he cried. That very first, we'd been attached to each other for about an hour and a half, and yeah, he cried when I left. So yeah. Oh, I love him so much. So yes, I've had him from a puppy. He's 6 this year, which is terrifying because time does like to scare you, doesn't it, when you get older? It just goes so fast. I remember waiting, it being such an agonising wait for birthdays and Christmas. It felt like they'd never come, but now they're just here before you know it. But anyway, yes, so he's 6 this year. And Ine also asked how I came up with his name, and I don't actually know. Both of my dogs, I knew their names before I had them. And Brewski, his name came about because I loved Clueless. And I didn't even know what the word meant when I heard it on Clueless. I just thought it was a nice sound. So that's how Brewski got his name. And Bobbin, I seem to remember there's a local artist, I think, called Noel Bobbin, and that just, I saw his sign outside his house, and I think that made me think, Bobbin, there's a name, wouldn't that be cute? And so, when I met Bobbin, I knew he was Bobbin. He's gone over there, into his bed. He doesn't want me to grab him and cuddle him anymore. He's so grumpy. It's because we've got the dog downstairs. He's punishing me for it. The Knitting Annie asked if I've knit Bobbin a sweater. and what's my favourite pattern, and how does he feel about sweaters. He doesn't like sweaters. I knit him this one. I sort of based this on the Howl dog coat from Stitch and Bitch. I did an entrelac back, and then it's just a garter stitch front and legs, and it seems to be slightly felted, and then it's got a little cowl neck that just folds over. And I was going to put it on him, but he's very cleverly left. He doesn't appreciate jumpers, but then I take him out and he's shivering like crazy, so he has to wear one if it's really, really cold. Because he just does get too cold, but he doesn't actually, realistically, he doesn't like wearing anything. He hates wearing collars. He won't wear a collar. He is microchipped, but he doesn't leave my side really, does he? But yeah, he won't wear a collar. He thinks that they're an absolute insult, and he hates wearing his harness. I get his harness out to take him if we're going out or going for a walk or anything. He'll run upstairs. You'll see the harness, and it's such a comfortable harness. It's one of the big ones. I don't know if I can explain it, but it's quite sort of foamy, very soft. There's nothing harsh about it, nothing. It fits him really well. It must be as comfortable as a harness can be, but no, he charges up the stairs. I have to, it's so ridiculous, it's embarrassing even saying this. I have to pretend to leave the house to get him to come down to put his harness on. Oh dear. Embarrassing. Yes, I think I might humanise my dog a little bit. But anyway. So yes, this is one of the jumpers that I've knit him. And I knit him this because when David and I were first together, we were quite inseparable. We still are actually. But this was at the time we didn't live together. And so I'd stay at his flat, and every morning he'd have to bring me home before work. And it was really, really early, and it was really, really cold. So I had to knit Bobbin a cosy jumper so that he'd be nice and cosy in that cold journey, and I'd also put him in a fleecy pillowcase to keep him warm. Because, yeah, I don't like him getting cold, but he hates it. When he was a puppy, I also sewed him some coats, and I don't have any of those. I think they might be at Mum's because they're much too small for him now. But I did have brewskis still, which is fine. It just kind of breaks my heart a little bit to have it, but I can't get rid of it. Anyway, let's just not even mention it. So this is one that I made for Brewski. He was a bit bigger than Bobbin, and it's just got a Velcro, where is it? Velcro closure, and I lined it with some flannel, and it's got a little button at the front and a little hole for his harness to go through at the top. So yeah, I sewed a couple of these for Bobbin as well, but they were obviously smaller. They were tiny when he was a puppy. It was so cute. But I might make him another, I might sew him another one actually, because I've put wadding in there so that it's nice and warm, and sort of quilted the fabric. But yeah, that's my Brewski's one. Brewski, on the other hand, he would wear anything. He didn't mind at all. Bobbin usually wears this little jumper, and I didn't knit this, shamefully. I bought it from Accessorize, and it's just a little Fair Isle type design, and I have often thought that I'd quite like to make him one. It's just like that with the little legs, because I would change a few things about this one, like it sits quite low around his shoulders, and the legs are quite small. David can't put him in this, he can't work out how you do it because the legs are so small. It's not actually difficult, but he mollycoddles Bobbin as well. Doesn't want him to be in any sort of discomfort, even briefly, So I was thinking about knitting him another jumper. I might do that at some point, even though he hates them. He'd rather not be cold. He loves being warm. That's his absolute favourite. He buries himself in stuff all the time, and yeah. So thank you so much for asking about Bobbin. I really like that you like hearing about him. He's my precious little boy. And the Knitting Annie, who asked about the sweaters, she has a lovely podcast which always makes me smile, and it's the Knitting Annie podcast, and I'll put links to that in the show notes. And Ine also has a podcast called This Old Knit, and it's just recently started. I think she's on episode 4 now, so I'll put links for that in the show notes too. Because yeah, I've watched that one too, and it's lovely. So yes, thank you so much for asking those questions. I can't believe he has gone so far away, so I've just got no hope of getting him back. Little grump. Bobbin, look what I've got up here. Bobbin, what's this? Oh, what have I got? It's your bone. It is. Are you going to come and get it? Look, I've stolen your bone. Come on then. Come get your bone. Oh, you're such an athlete. Oh, good boy. You can usually bribe Bobbin with food. It's good. He's got a little crocodile somewhere around here. One of those greenies. The treats. He's buried it somewhere. And we're not sure where, because we're pretty sure that he hasn't eaten it. He's left again now. Sometimes, if we haven't put the laundry away, the clean laundry, we'll find a bone in there. So I think that might be where his crocodile is. So I think that's everything for today. Enough of my Bobbin rambling. But just checking, looking around to check. Yeah, I think that's everything. So thank you ever so much for being here today and watching, and I hope you'll come back again next week, because I really like chatting with you. Thank you very much to everyone who's been in touch this week. I've tried to be better on the boards, and I've even replied to some people on my iPad, which is big for me. Ridiculous. But yeah, thank you ever so much for being here, and I hope you'll come back next week, because I'd love to chat to you some more. So I hope you have a lovely week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.